Hey, it's Ryan from upfitsupply.com, and in this video we're going to be installing some DuraTherm ceiling liners in our Ford Transit cargo van. Let's get started. Okay, Legend does provide some installation instructions for this kit. It's actually going to show up in a QR code on the box. If you scan that with your phone, you'll be able to download the latest installation instructions from Legend. Make sure you follow those for the ultimate source of information. Of course, we're doing our best to follow that as well. Now, just a couple of notes about this installation. Number one, we are in a Ford Transit 148-inch regular wheelbase with mid or medium roof height. The ceiling liners are going to be a different part if you have the low roof, you've got a different wheelbase, you've got a high roof, and so on. But installation is going to be pretty similar because these vans are pretty similar from model to model. Another thing I want to show you is we do have some wiring roughed in because we're going to be putting in some ceiling lights in our ceiling liner, so just be aware of that. You may see those appear at some point during the video. If you're interested in these lights, it's going to be a separate video. We'll show you how to install those. So this installation is going to be in two parts. Number one, we're going to put the ceiling liners in place. Then we're going to take the aluminum ceiling sills, which go on the edges of the liner between the wall and the ceiling. We'll put those in last. Now, it is helpful to have another set of hands to hold up the liner while you're trying to line up your holes and put in your clips and all that, but it can be done with one person. That's usually how I do it, but it's a lot easier if you've got a second set of hands. So let's bring in our first liner. Okay, a couple things I want to show you on this liner before we start lifting it in place. On the back of the liner where the foil insulation is, you can see there is some locations with scoring. I think that shows up on the camera okay. First, there's going to be the scoring that goes all the way along the edge here. And this is going to be scoring really for folding the liner so that you can get some of these curves here on the edges. And then there's some scoring right here, which is if you have the OEM ceiling lights. You can see we have two of them up there towards the front. We've got one back here. We don't have all of them, so we're just going to be cutting out a couple of them. I did mention that we're going to be installing some motion sensor ceiling lights as well. We still want to retain those just to make it extra bright back here. The other thing is on our first liner, this is actually a two-piece ceiling liner. So we're going to have one long piece from the front all the way to about right here. Then we're going to be using this joiner strip right here to connect two of the panels together. And in order for this to fit on the liner, you actually have to peel away some of the insulation back here. So this is where the joiner strip is going to be. You can see it's already cut away right here, but there's some still left on this side. I'm just going to cut that away so that we can, to make it easier to put that joiner strip on when we get to that part in the installation. And like I mentioned, we only have our LED lights from the factory here on our first cross member, which is actually going to be, this is the forward part of the ceiling liner. You can tell by this little cut here that goes around those foam blocks. So we're only going to cut out these two blocks right here for our factory ceiling lights. These are just scored from the back. So, you know, they're scoring right here. It's not cut all the way through the liner, so if you don't have those, you're not going to have any holes there. But if you do want to cut these out, you're going to have to do that before you put the liner in place. Now for this, I just like to use a sharp razor blade. Nice thing about these plastic clips is that they really grip this liner nice, so you can do one section at a time if you're short-handed. Now here's our smaller piece that's going to go in the rear here. You can see we again have scoring for lights. They also do have some scoring right here for to take some of this insulation off for that joiner strip. Let's take that off now. Next, this joiner strip is a little bit longer than what we need, so we do need to trim it down. Found it easier just to measure this one here on the ground. Coming in at 59¼ inch. Go ahead and take this down here. Again, just using a razor blade here to cut this. All right, I find this a little bit easier to get this joiner strip in before you attach that last cross member. Now, before we move on to our ceiling sills, we're actually gonna get our ceiling lights put in place. So if you're interested in that, it's gonna be in a separate video. So those lights are gonna appear, and then we'll move on to the sills. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our sills. I like to use gloves when handling these sills because there are some sharp edges on them. I also threw in this Legend box here to protect our nice new Stabiligrip floor. I don't want to get it all scratched up and stuff before we even take it out on the road. And so you're gonna have, I believe there's 4 of these sills. And again, these go and cover between your ceiling and your wall like that. And these are obviously not the full length of the van, so you need to join these together. Typically you'll do this outside of the van. That's why I brought this cardboard in, because I want to show you inside the van how to do it. And we're just gonna attach 2 pieces together to make one long sill for the right side and the left side of the van. One thing to point out is these are stamped with letters A, B, C, and D. The passenger side, B towards the front, A towards the rear, and then on the driver's side, you're gonna have D up front and C in the rear. So we're gonna go ahead and orient these in the right direction. You also wanna look for these 2 holes right here. This is where the joiner strip's gonna connect. So that's how you can figure out which way is forward and which way is back. Now our joiner plates are just gonna be these little squares right here. They're also that diamond plate texture or pattern on it, if you will. These actually go behind the sill, and you're gonna use 4 screws, 2 on each sill, to attach these together. Okay, now we have 2 longer sills with them joined together. We'll do a test fit, see how this fits. Looks like this fits right in behind this foam block right here. It's gonna go all the way to the back, right near, pretty much right up against this conduit on the back door frame. A lot of people will sometimes really beat on getting these screws in, thinking it needs to go into sheet metal or things like that. Typically, it usually only attaches to the liner itself. It's lightweight aluminum. You can just hang on that liner like that. Occasionally, like I think one of these points over here actually goes into you know, a rib in the van or something like that. But typically, it just goes into the ceiling liner material or the liner material itself. Particularly on the ceilings, I found that to be true. And that just about does it for the installation of our ceiling liners and sills here in our Ford Transit. Now, if you're looking for this ceiling liner, the wall liners, this floor, or any other equipment to get your van or truck ready for work, be sure to check us out, upfitsupply.com. Again, my name is Ryan, and have a good one.